Blake Lively. Okay, I have not finished reading all of this, but I read a good portion of this last night. Still have a little bit left. And I want to give you some of my thoughts. One of the big things that I kept asking myself here, and I've asked myself this for a while, was the lack of reference to New Jersey in this, right? They make mention of it, that most of the filming occurred in New Jersey, and therefore most of the behavior, or alleged behavior, occurred in New Jersey. But I was like, well, why is nobody arguing New Jersey in the alternative here? If you're not going to apply California law, then here you go. That was never, yeah. And now, that thought process, somebody's probably feeling bad about that because, so FIHA is a California law. And there's something similar in New Jersey. I'm not overly familiar with it. It's called LAD. Law of maybe discrimination. I don't know. Too early in the morning for me. Anyway, similar and potentially maybe even easier from what I was Googling than doing the CRD and everything. There were some ways around that. So maybe the CRD filing, saying California law sounds better. PR, maybe that's what they were going for. Maybe this is all just PR. That would be odd to me. But I suppose there's a world where they discuss this with their client and the client liked the sound of Hollywood, California better. Or, California, Harvey Weinstein, entertainment industry. I don't know. Or they really, I think the other thing too is I think they really thought that actor loan agreement was going to be enforceable, which Lyman's like, no, it's not. Because in the California, but even still, if it was enforceable, in that loan out agreement, there was a provision on California law, right, would apply for certain things. And even that, you still probably would have had the extraterritorial argument. And Lyman even writes that in the opinion. He's like, well, since it's not enforceable, we don't have to address whether or not you can contract out of it. And he's insinuating that's still a hard issue. So I don't know what would have happened there. But the statute of limitations on the LAD is 2 years. So, yeah. From the activity, unless it's continuous, which I guess maybe somebody could try to say with the retaliation, but I don't know. Even Lyman tries to kind of separate the two, which I thought was good from an insurance perspective. But yeah, that was an interesting one. Oh, and to get to the juicy parts of this, those start on 109, where he's actually going into the sexual harassment stuff, and a few of them, he's like, this is basically nothing. A couple of the comments that Justin makes at the beginning. Well, the first one, he's like, okay, you guys talking before you've even agreed to this movie, that can't be a hostile work environment because it's literally not work. And then there were a few other comments that he's like, yeah, this is not, nobody can really see this as much of anything. And you're making a movie and he's the director. But he does say, and I'm sure people will kind of latch onto this, some stuff about some of the Heath stuff and the birthing scene. And he's like, yeah, maybe there's a reasonable basis there. Just because he's saying there's a reasonable basis is not him saying yeah, you completely meet all of the elements and a jury would find that you were sexually harassed or whatever you're relating this to, that there was, a horrible freaking environment on the work set. Doesn't mean that. It just means that had they not applied FIHA and also the Title VII, but the Title VII was denied for a separate reason. Had they not argued FIHA and say maybe they had argued the LAD, they'd probably go on to a jury. The Title VII, everybody's been saying for a year now, that failed because she's an independent contractor, which I think everybody and their brother thought was coming. But I think that was hard from the get-go, but then it was particularly hard once you saw the PGA letter that she authored. And she's like, yeah, I did all these things and this is how much control I had on set. I do wonder when her lawyers first saw that PGA letter, because yeah, because you could be doing your due diligence. She could say I wrote this letter to the PGA, and you could think maybe, I guess, not a ton about that, especially when you've got 10 million other things going on. And then when you actually sit down and you read it, you go, oh, you claimed you did everything. you have substantial control over your work environment of how you want to work. Yeah. We're going to have some issues there. I'm still going through it, but the lad stuff just keeps pinging in my head.